became the odd guy out on the left side. So then Bruce had to start playing him on the right side if he wanted to get him, one, in the lineup, but two, proper minutes and playing up. And even though, I find it funny because Nino's biggest goal as a Wild player was streaking down that right wing in Colorado in 2014. Bruce never felt that he was good enough on the right wing in terms of catching pucks, receiving pucks, shooting pucks, defending, things like that. So it just became a matter of time, especially at the price point that Nino was at, that he was going to get traded.
From Skylar Vicious, early conference final predictions.
Good question. I will say I'm a little surprised at how many prognosticators, which we've all sucked all throughout the postseason, is not giving St. Louis a chance. It's like San Jose. I just saw it when I was walking in here. In fact, I was reading it's not Bovada anymore. I forget the person, Jimmy Shapiro, that sends me these odds all the time. Just changed books or sports books or whatever. So I can't remember where he worked for now. But wherever he used to work at Bovada, now he works at this other place. And same thing. I mean, San Jose is a big time favorite over St. Louis, but yet St. Louis best team in the league since January 3rd. And I don't think anybody could watch that Dallas game and say that they weren't dominant. They're getting great goaltending from Binnington. The stage has not been too big for him. Suddenly Tarasenko's starting to look like himself. Robert Thomas and Jaden Schwartz has been awesome. They got star power in their back end with Parayko and Pietrangelo. I like that team. I think this is going to be a fabulous series. I picked in our athletic, and I've been wrong throughout everything, so don't go with me, but I picked the Blues to win the series in 7. In our athletic predictions today. And in terms of, I get Boston. I think Boston's coming out of the East, but nobody's giving Carolina a shot, and Carolina just continues to absolutely surprise us all. So it'll be a good series. It'll be interesting to see who's in goal tonight. Rod Brindamar's not saying. If it were me, even though Mrazek was unbelievable before he got hurt, I think he still start the series with McElhaney and not start the series with a ice-cold, maybe rusty Mrazek. I think you go with the guy that's off the rhythm of just coming up with a huge playoff series win against the Islanders.
From Sam Randall, the worst bad luck moment in Wild history, is it Harding breaking his foot, Harding being ill, Gabrick's soccer groin injury, Nick Schultz appendicitis, Coyle's OT broken stick, Yzerman not the GM, and Patrick Kane stanchion OT?
I would go... And this is going to be, I really mean this as no disrespect to Chuck Fletcher, but I would go the Yzerman thing. Because that would have had absolute long-term ramifications. So who knows where this goes? They might not sign Parise and Suter if Yzerman's here. They might have freaking Kucherov if Yzerman's here. You just don't know. So I think that'd be the most fascinating thing. And I think Yzerman has proven to be an extremely intelligent general manager, and I think that's probably the biggest one. Obviously the Harding stuff sucks, both things. Backstrom, how about Backstrom getting hurt in warm-ups of their first postseason since 2008, when it happened in 2013. The Gabrick groin one hurt for a couple reasons, but it did lead to the ascension of Cal Clutterbuck. If I remember correctly, Clutterbuck was called up when we were in Florida and never left again. And I'm pretty positive because remember the one of the funniest stories I did at the Strib is I was talking to Clutterbuck 3 months into his time here, and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I'm trying to pay this stupid bill to the Houston airport. I'm like, why? And he goes, I left my car in the parking for 2.5 months. I'm like, what? How dumb are you? He left his car parked at the...
That's $10,000.
But where it was bad luck was then, for his own personal, in Doug Reisbrow's view, selfish reasons, Gabrick decided on his own to go under the knife. Wouldn't come back. Finally came back after the trade deadline in his last year of his deal. So the Wild could have traded him, but couldn't because he wasn't back. And then all of a sudden he comes back, has 10 goals in the final 8-9 games or whatever it was. It was crazy. Look it up. Was just spectacular and showed everybody he could still play. Then Reisbrow gets fired. Jacques quits. Chuck comes in. Then all of a sudden, Gabrick wanted his money again, and Chuck's first big decision couldn't have been to give this guy $80 million.
Right.
So he leaves as a free agent. So all that led from that one stupid groin injury playing soccer down in Florida.
Wow.
What was the others? They were good ones. The stanchion was bad luck.
Eiserman, Coyle, OT, broken stick.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Nick
just,
Schultz, appendicitis, and Harding.
Nick Schultz appendicitis is just insane. That's that really is like one of those things that epitomizes the Wild franchise. One of their most important defensemen after winning the division in 2008 is sitting above me in the press box in game 82 when we're there, thinking he's sick. Flies home, finds out his appendix exploded, and misses the first, basically the first 5 games of the series, and played Game 6 when he had no reason to be playing. When he shouldn't have been on the ice.
From Brent Winthizer, how do you feel Iowa's success this year will impact the Wild going forward? Is there actually NHL talent there, or does it help establish a winning culture?
Well, I mean, I like what I'm seeing from guys like Manel and Soucy, and Belpedio wasn't very good last night, but I thought Manel and Soucy were awesome. Look, I mean, Mayhew has turned himself into a player. He will get his NHL deal. But in terms of the other guys, there's probably no real legitimate prospects on the ice. There's a lot in the Black Aces.
Thanks to Bite Squad. Use the promo code TALKNORTH for your first delivery fee waived. Keep using it. They deliver breakfast. They will deliver lunch to your office or wherever you are. They will save you from having to go out at night and deal with parking and driving and waiting in line and worrying about reservations, and you won't have to do dishes, and the food is just as good as you get in the restaurant. They've just added a bunch of restaurants in Minneapolis. They also have a membership deal, $5.99, gets you free delivery per month from anywhere within a 4-mile radius. So there are a lot of good deals there. Download the app, go to bitesquad.com, and thank them for supporting our network. From Carson, is Eck in Iowa? He only hears about Cunnin and Greenway.
No, Eck is done. He's he needed waivers, and also if they had done Eck, it would have been their it would have been their maximum 4 call-ups that they would have been allowed.
From Serious Mashup, please elaborate on Mayhew.
Works his butt off, plays like a hockey player. He's got this huge gash on the bridge of his nose, and I asked him about it. He's like, it's like when I'm on the ice, I just see red. Goes to all the right players. He's kind of their Parisi, is the way somebody said it to me pretty astutely today when I talked to him. He just goes to all the right areas, yet but he's got the skill to toe drag. It's too bad you can't just put O'Reilly and him on the 4th line next year. I would put the two of them together in a heartbeat.
From Irrelevant.
I would do that in a heartbeat, actually. Hopefully Paul's thinking like that.
From Irrelevant, why did the Minnesota Wild not renew Andrew Thomas's contract, dropping more analytics? Sounds like strange.
It's funny because that was one thing in my Q&A yesterday that I meant to ask him, because I also hear that they only have one other person in analytics in the organization. I'm not sure she's staying, and she's brilliant too. So I do want to ask how to Paul, and I completely forgot, and I had it written on my notepad to ask him, because I really haven't had him articulate yet why he got rid of that, or if he plans to enhance it, because I don't know if analytics is big into Paul. Paul Fenton's big into that, and I'd love for him to explain, how analytics, helps him do his job, or if he even feels like it does. And also, all of a sudden,
the trades did not feel like analytics driven.
Well, not with Victor Rask. And then the other thing is, now all of a sudden there's going to be all this data, flood of data coming to all of us, puck tracking and things like that. And I want to know how he sees that having an ability in the future to help him do his job. So I have not, in fairness, I have not asked that specific question yet.
From Chris Ailes, he asked about Greenway and Donato at Iowa. Why are they kind of looking lethargic?
I don't know. I mean, it's disconcerting because they're already a month into this, and it's you can't rely on this excuse anymore that they're checked out and wish they were gone. But it was not a good thing watching them last night, and frankly, I felt that way about both of them throughout the postseason. There was one game down there, game 2, where all 3 of them. 2 of them were good. Greenway wasn't. Then there was one game in the Milwaukee series where I know Dan Myers from Wild.com wrote a big story on Greenway, feeling that he was good. But really, Donato and Greenway haven't been very good. and so.
From Nikolai, the Q&A was nice insight. However, you can almost read the tension in Paul Fenton's answers with Russo. Who sets these up, and how fun is it to write up after?
Well, I mean, in terms of the tension, I mean, it was an affable interview. I think that's just kind of the way it reads. Maybe
Right.
That's the way Paul Fenton talks. Who sets it up? I mean, not that you need to get into it, but I mean, this is one of those. I emailed Sickman, the Wild PR person, asked him if Paul was going out in Iowa, and if you could ask him if he'd do a Q&A with me. Sickman wrote me back almost immediately saying he was, and that Paul said yes. And then from that point on, I just texted back and forth with Paul because they were on this bus coming down with all the scouts yesterday. So it was just kind of a matter of us aligning. And so then when he got to the arena, I went down to the suite. And talked to him for a half hour or so. And not everything, also, a Q&A is not everything that we talked about.
Right.
There were other parts, some stuff that I'm saving for other stories, other parts that I didn't put because it was kind of convoluted, and that I didn't put that because of that. And so, Q&As are not, I don't want people to think that it's a pure transcript of everything. A lot of times, actually, like maybe even, the questions won't be in order of the way that they were asked, just to kind of make them more, better reader-friendly experience.
From Wild Nation, what was the rest of your question when you asked Fenton about Nino and Coyle? The people want to know.
Honestly, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
From Russo's Filter, Russo said recently he writes gamer speeds as readers want gamers. If he didn't have to write them, by the way, Russo's Filter also does a show, the Minnesota Sports Fan Unfiltered show, or the Minnesota FU show, depending on what version you want to listen to. He said, you write gamers because your readers want gamers. If he didn't have to write them, what other kind of things would you write?
I don't know. I mean, I am a kind of a gamer guy. I like that stuff. I mean, so like, I read the way, like, like Sean Shapiro's got a really cool way that he does the gamers where he picks like 20 things out during a game and writes them, and that's a difficult task as well. And I don't know if I have the ability to do that on an every night basis. It just isn't, it's not my cup of tea the way I would do it. Jason Botchford, the late Jason Botchford from Vancouver, he just, sadly passed away the other day. Yeah. He had a thing that his fans absolutely loved. And I would read these things and I'd watch him write it during the game and after the game. And you can't see me right now, but he'd lean back in his chair and almost like his leg was up, and he's writing this thing after games, and I'm like, and then I'd read it after it was on. I'm like, how did you even come up with this? I mean, it was just crazy. Like, I would not have the ability to do that. And so, there's just I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of that. I like to be analytical in my gamers, and
this market likes that.
Yeah, I mean, so. Yeah, that's one that's like I'm kind of a dinosaur, and I actually should do a poll to see if fans actually do like them. Like, is it just too much type, and you'd rather it more reader friendly and like little cool nuggets and things like that rather than a full gamer? I almost should do a poll going into next season because at some point, especially, I hate to say it like this, but if next season sucks,
right?
People are not going to want to read.
Gamers lose their value.
And you know what? I'm not going to want to every single night just rip on them. So there's got to be kind of, it's one of those things I'm going to have to talk to my editor about how we kind of do this going forward.
From Joe Campion, do you think the Wild will send an offer sheet for Marner or another forward this offseason?
I don't.
From Frozen Wookie, how much rope do you believe the owner will give Fenton based on past performance we've seen so far?
I think this is a big year for everybody in the organization. Obviously Bruce, he's got a year left, but Paul as well. This is a very different looking franchise than it was a year ago, and he's got to show that he's got a plan and that it's being orchestrated the way that Craig Leopold, has full belief that it's going to get this team to being back to not only a playoff contender but a cup contender.
We've done 1 million Twitter questions. We still aren't going to get to half the ones sent in. We really appreciate it. We'll try to get to more and more as we go through with this. We'll do some live questions, too.
People are going to be pissed with you.
I know, but I'm used to that.
For the record, this is all Jim ending this. I could stay here all day. I had no problem. I just drove 4 hours from Iowa. I'm not tired at all. Don't need to go home.
I got to pack and move.
It's
and
2:11 anyway,
We've
and
done 42 minutes.
It's 2:11 anyway, and I'm right in a 7-day in a row streak at Starbucks where I have to go in every day after 2 to fulfill my achievements.
Oh, so you're ready to leave?
Yeah, I got to go.
I got it. So we're going to do 1 or 2 more Twitter questions. I want to thank Tin Shed again. Tin Shed in